So, hi class, good morning. Uh, yeah, let me share my screen here. So, okay, audio is audible, recording is on. Okay, great. So, hi guys, hope you had a good Diwali vacation. We did not have class last week, but this week we shall have the normal classes. So, first click on your VS Code, click on File and do Open Folder. And in the Open folder in Dropbox, if you have already, you shall have the November 8th class, right? 8 November is today. Just double click and select the folder. So as you know, we were doing the programs on multi-threading, right? So on multi-threading, as you know, we can have multiple processes running within the same process. Now what does that mean? We will just have a look at here. So for example, so this is our process. So for example, this is word.exe. Fine. So now what happens here in this case, when your word.exe basically has a spell checker, I'm just quickly revising what do you mean by multi-threading. It will have some formatting options, right? Along with it has many features like save as, it has features for tables, etc., etc. Now when you open the taskbar, so let's say if I start Microsoft Word, right? So I have started Microsoft Word. So now you can see that you will have various, you have only Microsoft Word. So it will be usually one word actually. Let me just check this. Okay, these are services. See this. You have only Microsoft Word. It is showing as a single process, right? Occupying 51 MB of memory and some network space, some network traffic. It is 0 Mbps, but some disk usage is also there. Fine. So now within this Microsoft Word, there are processes which are running in the background, which we cannot directly see, right? Those are known as child process. So parent process means, so this is the parent process, the main process, right? And all this, spell checker and all these are child process. So as you know, a child cannot exist without a parent, right? Similarly for the processes also. So I cannot have something like, okay, I should be able to close Microsoft Word and then use the internal spell checker, let's say in Chrome. I cannot use that, right? Because for Microsoft Word, all these things, all the small processes are child processes, which directly depend on the execution of Microsoft Word. If Microsoft Word is not executing correctly, so not will be the child processes, right? It's just like a root and a tree, right? So a tree's branches, the fruits, the flowers can be considered like a child process, and the root of the tree is the parent. So once you remove the root or once you destroy the root, everything else will be automatically dead. Fine. So now why do you actually require multi-threading programming, right? So see, when you start Microsoft Word, you are provided with a large number of options, right? So what does multi-threading do, right? Multi-threading actually helps you to run multiple pieces of code together. So technically what happens on a single microprocessor, right? If you have a single processor machine, right? On a single processor, you have a single processor. Let's say this is Pentium 3, right? So what happens here? Of course, Pentium 3 is not a single process. Pentium 3 was a single processor. From the dual cores and the core 2 duos, we came across multiple processor. So technically, from an OS point of view, on a single processor, you can have at most, right? Remember the word at most, one process running in memory, right? At most one process. Now, what do I mean by that? You may say, ki, okay, like for example, as of now, my machine is a quad core machine, 4 processor machine. But then you may actually ask, see, there are so many processors running, right? so many background process, like more than 100 processes are running. How is that possible? That is possible because, what does the operating system do? It makes you feel that as if all the processes are running together, but internally there is a thing which is known as context switching. Now I will tell you what is context switching. Right? So what is context switching? So let's say this is your Firefox, this is your Chrome, this is your Word, this is your PowerPoint, and this is Excel. So let's say these are running in the memory actually. So what does operating system actually do is, like, basically it switches between the process. So it's like it gives, let's say, I'm talking in very vague term, these are all millisecond operations. So let's say it gives 100 milliseconds to this, and then suddenly it will give 100 milliseconds to this, then again 100 milliseconds to this, 100 milliseconds to this, and then return back to the start process. So what happens, this is like a time sharing. So every process is given 100 milliseconds, and then another process is given 100 milliseconds. Okay, you execute whatever instructions you want to execute in this 100 milliseconds. So what happens, it actually appears as if all the processes are running together, right? It appears as if all the processes are running together, right? So now what advantage does this give? So on a single processor machine, I can execute as many tasks as I want. The switching will take place. Now if I have two processors, let's say this is P1 and this is P2, right? These are independent process, so I can run Chrome, Word here, and I can run Excel and Firefox here. So what is the advantage? I can switch between these two on processor 1. I can switch between Excel and Firefox on processor 2, right? So this is how now you can achieve parallelism. In the first case, you had to switch between 4 processes, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. In this case, there are 2 processes, so I can have smaller queues here, right? I can have only 2 processes. Let's say if I had 4 processes, right? This is quad core. Now we have 8 core also. So what I can do for here, I can actually have Firefox here and remove Firefox from here, and I can have Word here, right? I will remove Word from here. So now what happens, since you have 4 physical processes, you can execute 4 physical processes one at a time individually on all of them, so that this can be a real parallelism that you are achieving. This is not virtual, right? So if you have 8 core, you can have 8 processes in the memory. If there are more than 8, some processors will have to do parallel processing, right? Now what happens when you do threading programs, right? So let us start from the start again. So let us just see, thread is nothing but a function only, but just a special call basically. So I'm importing threading, which is a library, right? And let me just execute this code. This we had actually seen already. Oh, just a minute here. Control Shift minus. So initially what I'm doing, I'm calling the function print high with a value 100. So what happens here, I can just right click here, go to definition. You can see I'm coming to the print high function, and I'm printing your customer number, whatever value is in the number. In this case, it is 100. So you can see the output comes like this. Currently executing main thread because this was the first statement of the program. And then hi, your customer number 100, and you are printing the thread name, which is main thread, right? So any process that you actually start is the main thread or parent thread, right? It is also known as parent thread. So now what happens, see, this is a threading functionality. So now what we are doing, threading dot thread, right? So we use import threading. So threading dot thread. Now what I'm saying, target is equal to print high. That means print high is a function, and I'm passing the argument 75. Now just check the difference between this and this, right? In case of thread, you have to specify the name of the function in target. See, in this case, print high was directly called, right? You can directly call the function print high with the parameter 100. So what will happen? The program execution will stop here. So basically you have the main, things are running, and then you are calling print high. So now assume the program will stops, actually not stops, the program pauses here, right? The program pauses here till the output of print high is not written. Once the output of print high is written, it comes back to the point where it is called, and then it goes for further execution, right? So now the advantage of thread is that in the case of threading, so in case of threading, this is called, but at the same time, right, the program moves further also. So now what happens when the program moves further, even if this print high, right, even if this print high function had a block means, so let's say I write sleep 1000, so that it sleeps for 1000 seconds. So that will not hamper the further process of the program. Or let's say there is some bug in the program, or suddenly the print high function comes to a halt. So when you are using threading, it actually induces parallelism, that the function is also called simultaneously at the same time, right? At the same time, the further process execution will also continue, right? So now what happens here in this case, you can see this is my thread initialization. Okay, I need to create a thread, right? Kind of, you can assume I need to create a process that will call the function print high, passing the parameter 75. So this is just an intimation to the system, right? When you actually do t1 dot start, see this entire thing you are storing in the variable t1. When you are doing t1 dot start, that means that means you need to start this thread now, right? The moment you need to start this thread, what it does, it calls print high function with the parameter 75. So you can see I am again calling the print high function using, and now you can see the name of my thread is thread1. Initially it was main thread, because whenever you are calling through main, and since you are calling through main, for example this is called through the main function, so it becomes the main thread. Now when you are calling t1 dot start, so basically what happens, this thread is called. What does the thread call? Thread calls the print high function with variable 75, right? Print high function with variable 75, and then we come to the end of program, right? Now you may say, why do we use t1 dot join? So as I said, right, so as I said, let me come to the drawing board and go to next. So assume this is my normal flow of program, right? This is my normal flow. Pen color is this. L1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and then I'm calling a function f5. So what the function does, without parallelism, it will jump here. It will execute 10, 11, 12, and then come back. But what happens in threading, actually this goes further. It calls the function L5, F5 basically. So what happens, let me just change the pen color. So assume, a very vaguely I'm telling you, while L10 is executing, L6 might have already executed, right? Assume here we have L7 and L8. So while L11 will be executing, here L7 will keep on executing. While L12 will be executing, here L8 will be executing, right? It is not a serial fashion as I'm showing you it in a very simple example, because it depends on a lot what is the instruction, right? So you may assume, like, let's say this is x plus 5 and here it is x plus 8. So these are very quick instructions that can be actually done. Here you assume you are writing a program that will calculate the integration of something, let's say x cube plus sine x plus something, right? So let's say this takes a longer time. So this execution may take, let's say, 100 millisecond. and this actually may take 5 milliseconds to execute. So this may move very fast. But the point is, both the things will be simultaneously executing in the memory, right? Now, as I showed you in this case, it is executing simultaneously, but this may not be the result that we want. So let's say on X12, we are doing return Y, right? Let's say I'm doing return Y. And on line number 8, I actually am doing Y is equal to Y plus 9. So whatever value of Y is returned, I have to actually compute the value ahead of it. Now in this case, you also understand that you cannot achieve parallelism, right? Because some of my variable, in this case Y, actually depends on the value returned by the function. So as a very small example, you can assume like we had Y is equal to 0 here, and then we are calling, and in the function Y actually became 10, right? Let us assume Y actually became 10. Assume I am not using, I am actually not waiting. I basically not waiting means I am not using t1.join. So what will happen? Y was 0 at this line number 5. The function will be called, but all the proceeding parts, right, will be actually assuming Y is equal to 0. So in the last line, when I had Y equal to 9, so Y was 0. So Y equal to Y plus 9 means 0 plus 9, which is equal to 9. But in fact, what should have happened? This function was basically returning me Y is equal to 10. Since it returned Y is equal to 10, so Y is equal to Y plus 9, the value should have been 19. So one thing to remember here, and the takeaway here is that even if you are using threading, or even if you are using some kind of library to achieve parallelism, it is not always possible that you can actually do threading in your program, or you can take advantage of your program. For example, if you see the program that you have done for CPI and SPI, right, you can always compute the semester point index, right, because it depends only on the current semester. So I can make 8 threads, T1, T2, T3, T4 up to T8, for calculating the semester point index SPI. But for computing the CPI, for 8 semester I require the result up to 7 semester. For 7th I require result up to 6 semester. For 6th I require up to 5th. So this cannot be threaded. Here it has to be a serial execution like it happens on our normal machines. Right? I just wanted to give you an idea because I felt the other day we had less crowd, and this topic is a little tricky. Fine. So guys, let us do one thing. Let us take a break. Let us take a break for 5 minutes, and we will be back on 12:27. Of course, doubts are welcome in the chat window. Hi class. Sorry. So welcome back. Okay, so I hope you get the point in what is T1 dot start and T1 dot join, right? Start is always used to start the thread, but join means I need to wait for the thread to complete before moving forward, right? So for example, you can start 8 threads for your 8 semesters SPI, but then you need to join all the thread before computing the final CPI, right? That is the whole purpose of it, right? So you may just ask as of now, ki, what is the difference between a thread and this? So let me just take you to some tutorials again. I have kept the tutorial from where I have taken them in this, right? One is the thread name, right? So basically what happens in this code is the thread basically will assign a name to the program that we are doing. Okay, let me just check with the import os.system cls, right? So now you can see first always the main thread is executed. The program because begins with main and the main is always assigned a static name which is main thread. Fine. Then next what happens here is that we are having print hi, current executing thread is thread 1 and by your customer number 81. So let us see how did we code this, right? So we have two functions here, print hi and print by. We are printing the thread name using this function. And now see what we are doing. We are saying T1 is threading.thread. We are calling the function print hi with the argument 75. Similarly, I'm doing T1.start, T1.join, and I'm doing same for the thread T2. Now let us try to see how the output actually changes. You can see here what it is coming. Your customer 75. You are currently executing in thread 1. by your customer 81 and by currently you are executing in thread 2. If you see the function here, so first it is hi, whatever the customer number, and then you are saying whether what kind of thread it is, right? The thread name. So for example, you can see we have thread 1 and thread 2. Why thread 1 and thread 2? Because we initialize two threads here. One target with print hi and another target with print by. Right? Now let us do one thing. Let us comment out this thing, join. Since we had join here, what happens, whatever you start will actually come to, this program will actually come to a halt here and wait for the thread to actually process and complete. But now just see this output. I will execute the program multiple times, so you may see that this order may change. Say it is hi, your customer 75 and currently executing in thread 1, then your customer 81. You can see that this will be jumbled up in subsequent output. It should actually jumble up because now you are removing the join clause from here. See, did you see your customer 75? It is thread 1, right? You can see by your customer, actually end should not have come here, right? You can see end is at the last in the previous case when we use t1.join and t2.join. But in this case, since we are removing join, both the threads, basically both the functions print hi and print by are basically called simultaneously and both begin their execution. So you can see customer 75, your current thread is 1 and by your customer. So it has already reached end. Then this 81 should have come, then this should have come, and then end should have come. But since these are executing in parallel, you can actually see that end is printed before, because the moment you start this thread, end is actually executed because I didn't use join now. Since I didn't use join, let me just now uncomment this, and now you will see end will come at the last. Right, again it has not come at the last. Why? Because I did not do t1.join. Because see, the thread when it is executing t1, once it finishes the thread, it actually goes on executing the remaining things that it can execute. Right, so again when I'm executing the code, you can see now since both the joins are there, it becomes like a normal function call. It waits for the thread to complete execution and return back. So you can see customer 81 and 25. Right. Okay, I think this program shall make you a better visualization that why do you require multi-threading, right? Why do you require threading and how does it actually help you? So let me just check this code. Look, this is not required. Fourth code. What basically it has a list of 10, 20 up to 50. I begin the time, I end the time, and in between I am calling two functions. I am calling the division function, I am calling the multiplication function. What happens in the division function? In the division function, I am dividing every number by 5 and printing the quotient. I am dividing every number by 5 and printing the quotient. But you can see I'm importing time.sleep as one, right? I'm importing time. So basically my system will stop here for 1 second. So when I come to the division, for every number, I'm stopping 1 second and then I'm computing the division of it. Let us run the code. So you can see double 2 because 10 by 5 is 2. Then I'm pausing for some time. You can see the total time taken here is 10 seconds. Why 10 seconds? Because if you just do a simple calculation, in the division when I'm passing the list, how many numbers are there in the list? There are 5 numbers, right? In these 5 numbers, I am waiting 1 second for every number. So it will take 5 seconds to execute. Later what I am doing, I am calling the multiplication function. Again, same thing, I am passing the numbers here. I am multiplying every number by 5, but I am again waiting for 1 second each. So I have 5 numbers, waiting for 1 second means 5 seconds wait. Since I have multiplication and division, both the functions having 1 second delay, it will be a 10-second wait. So you can see roughly 10.003 is the total time that it took to execute. This also gives you a figure that if you exclude the waiting, because we know that the waiting time was always 10 seconds because we have the list of 5 elements only here. So if you exclude that, you can see how fast the program actually computed everything. 0.03 seconds, right? See, now what I'm doing, I'm calling here the two functions using normal process, division and multiplication. Now the same thing I actually will do using multi-threading, So what happens in that multi-threading here in this case? You can see in this case I am starting the thread with the function name division, and I'm passing the argument as numbers. Similarly for T2, I am creating a thread which is targeting to multiplication function, and I'm passing the same range of numbers. See, I'm starting both the threads. Since both the threads will start simultaneously in memory, ideally, it's very near to simultaneous. It is very near to exact starting point, but very close. Now what happens, whatever function I have defined, so you can see T1 dot start is division, T2 dot start is multiplication, right? So both the functions are basically called almost simultaneously, right? Just next to one another. And here you can see both the functions will actually be, both the threads will actually wait for the function to exit, and then we calculate the total time. The only difference in this program is, so now you can see the text again is garbled, you may see, but the total time taken here is only 5 seconds. Now why only 5 seconds? Because when I was actually calling the thread function, I was actually calling the division thread, right? The thread did not stop here, right? The thread did not stop on this line. It said, okay, I'm calling the function, I will move forward. So at this point, target is equal to multiplication and target equal to division. Assume that in the memory, these are basically placing together parallelly, not sequentially like the previous case. They are actually executing parallelly. So if I show you with respect to this diagram, this is multiplication and this is division. I just take this as main. So when I call T1 and T2, so the moment T1 starts executing, actually T2 also starts executing. So both basically, if you see, are executing the programs in a parallel fashion, right? Now since they are executing in a parallel fashion, every division or multiplication in this case has a sleep timer of just 1 second. Since both are executing parallelly, right, in memory, so the one program will take little more than 5 seconds because there are 5 numbers in the list and sleep is 1 second. So it will take 5 seconds plus some seconds to execute. Since now in this case it is doing in parallel, again it will take 5 seconds and some more time. So now you can see the advantage here. In this case, the total time taken is 5.007, as against in the case of sequential output, when I was just calling division and multiplication, you can actually see the total time taken was, okay, it is still computing, it was actually 10 seconds, right? Hope this program gives you a little feel of how to deal with all these multi-threading programs. Not a very difficult topic. These are just standard problems that you can actually do. So I think class, I actually am on leave, so today I will stop the lecture right here. Fine. So you can all exit. If you have any doubts, you can put in the chat window or ask me in on the audio call, or else we can disperse the lecture for today.